So when I was approaching teams at first, like when I didn't have any clients, I would just have one amazing show reel, and all I wanted them to do is just watch it. If they do watch it, they'll understand. All right, welcome back to the latest episode of Game Day Glare. My name is Ich, and I'm here with my man Lance.
How's it going, buddy?
Good, yourself?
Yeah, pretty good, man. Been pretty busy filming a couple projects here and there. The weather's starting to get a little better. It's spring, so things are going good. What about you?
Same. I'm loving the fact that at 6:30 at night, it's still still a bit of light outside, so that's always fun. Otherwise, yeah, I've been working mostly on my YouTube stuff, but I have been. I was at a G League game last night, my last one in Montreal. Hopefully, I get to do more of those events. I don't know if there are any interesting ones coming to Montreal soon. I know you're doing. Are you working the Harlem Globetrotters?
No, not this year. Not this year. I have done it in the past. Actually, it's really fun, Harlem Globetrotters, because you get to take risks. You get to try stuff. It's a fun show, right? It's still basketball. It's still really good basketball. Yeah. But, you know, no secret. You already know who's going to win the game before it starts.
Yes.
so that's why you can afford to take those risks. But no, I'm not doing the Harlem Globetrotters in Montreal. Not this year. Not this year.
Well, I got ran over last night, by the way. I got
what?
I was, I was like when you're sitting on the baseline and the player sort of falls into you. That it didn't fall. He did, but it wasn't like a full on, like full speed jump on me, sort of thing. Like it was more of he's trying to stay in bound and still catch the ball that's going out of bound, and then loses balance and falls on top of me, sort of. So it was just, it was about 6'10" or something. So It was heavy, but it was fine. It didn't hurt. What hurt the most was because I looked at the footage I was actually recording, and my camera's pointing to the side because I kind of dropped it on the side to catch him properly. and looking at the footage, I can see like the camera person that's doing the big screen, as soon as like she saw what was happening, she points the camera, well, not at me, but like at the situation. I was like, oh, sure.
So you made it on the Jumbotron. That was your thing. You're like, okay, I'm going to run over, but at least I'm getting my fame. I'm on the Jumbotron.
Yeah, more the opposite. I didn't want to be on it. I don't mind the contact. I don't want it to be a thing. I thought it was Paul. I thought Paul was like, yeah, get it.
Put him on.
Yeah. But I talked to him afterwards. He had no idea. So
there you go.
Maybe I didn't even make it anyway.
It is tricky in those situations though, because it's like your reaction is to kind of push the camera aside and you're grabbing the guy, but they don't really want you touching the guy. Like I got in trouble from the NBA for saving the player and not just protecting my camera. So it's like, well, what's the real rule there? Like the nice thing to do is make sure the guy doesn't get hurt and you don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Like move the gear. But
yeah, because my thing was like because he was coming sort of backwards, so he doesn't really know where I am. So my fear is that he doesn't know where I am, like steps on me or something and like twists an ankle, for example. So I just wanted to sort of secure him, like let him like, like that's kind of where you have to stop and realize that like you can't really go much further back. So that was more my idea. Like just my biggest fear is that, the guy twists an ankle or something because he doesn't realize I'm there and just sort of falls awkwardly. But it was all right. Everybody was happy. He gave me a little tap on the shoulder
when this happened.
Yeah. Well, that's why. Because otherwise, I would have gone up and helped. Because like sitting down, the guy's like 6'10". All I'm holding is like his legs. Like it's not like normally I should have like held his back or something to really sort of secure him. But now I'm just this like child like hanging onto his legs. But yeah, it was all right. It's a shame I didn't actually get that side of the action on camera to sort of recap my.
So did you guys just become best friends, or what? Did you exchange numbers after being that close, or anything? Or did he give you a wink at halftime, like "Thanks, buddy, I appreciate it"?
No, he gave me a tap on the back.
There you go. A good tap on the back. That's all you need.
Exactly.
Anyway. Well, speaking of a tap on the back, no. Today's show, we're going to try and help people sell themselves and get clients. it's something that we're asked a lot, and it's something that, you know, I mean, we struggle with too sometimes. Sometimes you make a pitch to a client, or there's a project that you really, really want to work on, and it doesn't always work out. But we're going to try and give you guys some tips to turn those no's into yeses, and maybe, you know, expand your network and reach new clients and try new things.
Yes. So let me start by asking you this. What was your first ever paid gig in sports, and how did you get it?
Yeah, so I mentioned this before on the show. I was really, really lucky. I was in university. My friend Chuck worked for the Montreal Expos. He called me to come in as a replacement cameraman. Now, I was doing community television at the time. I was in communications, so I did a lot of television stuff and videos, but I never really worked in broadcast. So it was scary. And I didn't really know how to use the hard body camera or how to use the broadcast camera, because they were different. They were different than the ones I had in studio. They were so big, you know. I didn't realize that it was so simple. Anyway, I came in for an interview to be a part-time cameraman. And by the end of the interview, someone had left and I was a full-time cameraman. So I was very, very fortunate and very, very lucky. But to get to that position and to have a friend trust me to call me to come to that, I did a lot of, like, you know, volunteering at community television for years, like 2 years where I was like a sports host. And it's funny because my friend actually just sent me a Facebook message from a post that he shared like in 2007 with an old clip of me on TV. And he's like, "Oh, who would have thought this was you preparing for your podcast?" Because before that, it was the only time I was ever really on camera. After that, the rest of my life, I've been behind camera. But it was cool. Community television was really fun. I used to have like my friends on all the time, and we talk about our sporting events and stuff that we were doing. So like we'd play in like alumni tournaments, or we played, some friends were playing Quebec junior major football at the time. So I'd have them on and we talk about the games, we talk about the events and stuff. So it was kind of cool. I use it kind of more as a platform for me and my friends more than community television. That shows you how bad community television was in Chattagee at the time, that they let me do all this. But yeah,
does community television still exist, by the way? Is that still a thing?
I don't know. But you know what's funny is, like, where I moved now, I'm actually like, it's right down the street from me. It was CTG Channel 9. And I'm Lance LeBerge, your sports host. So anyway, but honestly, volunteering and that helped me land that first gig with the Expos. But the Expos lasted for 3 seasons because unfortunately they became the Washington Nationals.
Well, so 3 seasons after you start.
Yeah, 3 seasons after I started. Yeah, it was great. Like, hey, I got to do 300 baseball games in 3 years. It was kind of cool. And I was living the dream. Like, you know, when I was a kid, we used to always go to these Expo games and that. And all of a sudden I was an employee. I was loud on the field. I'm around all these players. Like at 21 years old, it's kind of like a culture shock, you know, but I learned right away how to be professional, how to act around pros, not to be that kid. No, I didn't speak Spanish. Vladimir Guerrero did talk to us in Spanish, and I never understood what he said. The only thing is, he spoke to me in English once because I only asked for one autograph. I asked for Vladimir Guerrero's, which I still have over on my shelf. And I asked him his last day as a Montreal Expo, and he gave me shit because I was always in the dugout that whole season. He's like, "Why'd you wait till the last day?" And I was like, because I was shy. Like, I was like, what do I say? But they always spoke Spanish, man. We had a lot of Latin players on our team at the time. So. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I kind of rambled on there, but
no, it's the Lance show. It's all right.
That's it. Well, I am the official sports host of the show today. So.
Exactly.
No. What about you? What was your first big break in sports?
Yeah, well, I started more in TV, and I was doing I was more of a video editor back when editing and camera were two completely separate jobs. And
before AI.
Yeah, yeah, before DSLR cameras and all that stuff as well. But yeah, from TV, like the Montreal Canadiens was really my first gig in sports, which was like you. Yeah, very similar to your thing. Like a friend was actually doing working there. It was a part-time sort of freelance job, at the time, and he was going away for a whole summer or for 6 months or something like that. Just he was traveling, he was on a band, and looking for someone to replace him while he was gone, and that's how I got into it. But eventually, just replaced him full time, and the job became full time, and did that for a few years. But I'm going a bit further in time, because I think what people could potentially relate to a bit more is when I got to Australia. I did get a job at first that was really cool. Actually, I was producing TV shows. Well, I was working for a production company that was making TV shows that were all sports related. And so that was a lot of fun as well. But that company wasn't making any money, so it didn't last super long. And after that, that's when I decided to because I realized in Australia there was a lot of sports, but because there's so many teams, there's not that much money compared to what you see in the main American sports. So it's all like small teams, and there's like video was just becoming a thing in terms of like social media and stuff. So back then it was like on the website and maybe like a blog, or like even YouTube was just YouTube. I'm talking like 2011, 2012, something like that. Like YouTube was just cat videos and, just little like what memes are today, basically. There was no substance on YouTube. So anyway, all that to say that I saw the vision of like what we were doing at the Canadians with Habs TV, and just like showing the behind the scenes and doing all these things. Like no one was doing that in Australia. So I thought, if I can start a small agency, a little production company that can offer those services to 5 or 6 different teams, I'm golden. So that's what I tried to do. And which I eventually succeeded at. But like, yeah, the idea was just to try to get meetings with any professional sports team that would be, kind enough to to talk to me for an hour. So I met with a few of the first ones, because it's like the one thing, and this goes with probably, this applies probably more to our listeners. It's like, I've never deleted anything. So I had still everything that I produced with the Canadians. I had stuff that I produced for that TV show production company in Australia. So I had like all this content of sports, of athletes, of stuff. So I built like a show reel. I had a bit of a portfolio. I put like a document together that I printed nicely with a cover and everything that was sort of specific to that team. Like I would go and when I did get a meeting, like I would put together like something like a presentation of the types of videos that I could do for them and what it would look like, and like what I envisioned, like 4 or 5 different sort of concepts for weekly or monthly type videos for social media and for their website and stuff. And most of the time I would get like, oh, this looks amazing. This is awesome. We love this, but we've never spent money on this. So there's absolutely no way that my bosses are going to be like, oh yeah, let's go find thousands of dollars that we don't have to spend on something we've never spent any money on, and that no other team in our league is spending money on either. So there was a lot of that at the beginning, but eventually one team believed in it. Well, the other thing as well is I realized at some point that the way in was through the big screen, like, because they do have to produce some content for the big screen. So if you can get in like that and then use the content that you're filming, sell them the idea basically that the content that you're filming for the hype reel, for whatever content they want on the big screen, we can also, while we're there filming for that, we can film other things as well and put together these things for the website, and they can get it sponsored and things like that. So now they're listening. Now they're interested, because like the costs have gone down because there's already a budget for the big screen. So yeah, eventually one team jumps on, and then they start producing like social media content that is way above what everybody else is doing. So then all of a sudden the other teams are like, ooh, who did that? How did you get that done? And then next thing you know, there's someone calls you, or like you now when I'm approaching other teams, I can show them what I've done with that team, which is not necessarily like, for example, my first client was a soccer team, which like the domestic soccer league in Australia is probably the 3rd or 4th more popular sport over there. So if a soccer team is working with me, like the Australian football teams, they're like, oh, like these guys are doing this. Like, what are we doing? Like, we're supposed to be better than them. So then it just, it snowballs into. So all that to say that it's important to keep everything to, especially like your best stuff. You put it together, you produce a show reel, you have a portfolio, you have something that you can show to people easily. And then you knock on doors, you talk to, you network, you take the no's and you adapt to them, you listen to what their concerns are, their problems, and eventually you figure out the recipe and you get one client and then you get two and you go from there.
It's interesting you say like you kept all your stuff. That's one of my biggest regrets is I don't have all the stuff that I filmed throughout the years with all with the Habs, doing Habs TV and all that, because I was there for so long. I took it for granted. I just left that material there. I didn't have a system at home. I didn't need a system at home. Only once I branched out on my own, I was like, shoot, I should have copied some of those files and that.
Yeah. But to be honest, I look at them now and they're like, I think it's less than 720p. It's like 640 by 480.
Exactly.
I would never be able to use it now.
I don't know if you remember, but we used to send videos for approval, remember, by email.
Yeah.
And it was like 320 by 240 MP4s. And they were 30-second TV spots, but they were like 2.5 megs. Like the quality was so bad. And one time I sent somebody a video for approval and they posted that online and I wanted to kill them because it looks so bad. Yeah. Anyway, the jobs that we're talking about that we just spoke about were for major teams, right? And I'm going to be honest, when I left the Canadians Evenco full time and then they reposted my job, I don't think I would be able to get my own job back. Because like the amount of stuff that they do ask for videographers and that is overwhelming. It's crazy. They want you to know everything they're going to ask you to know. So obviously you got to film, you got to edit. All right, how's your audio? Do you know 3D animation? Are you good in After Effects?
But do you think that the person that replaced you actually knows all these things though?
No, because they needed more than one. They needed more than one person to replace me. That was the beauty of it. It's a true story. But no, what I'm saying is,
because who's going to make the coffee as well?
That's it. Someone's got to make the coffee. No, what I'm saying is, for people out there who are looking at all these jobs, do not be afraid of all the stuff that they ask you to do and they ask for, because even the people in those jobs probably can't do all those things. And if you can do all those things, you're definitely not good at all of them, because the number one thing I think that you need to do as a sports videographer or an editor is find the thing that you're good at. And that could be like, you could be good at game recaps. You could be really good at hype reels. You could be really good at storytelling. Figure out what that key thing is and then try and sell that. Don't worry about the list of software. Don't worry about the list of demands that they ask, because if they let you in the door, you will have time to adjust. You will have time to learn what they like. Because the one thing that I've done with working with clients, many clients, is every client's different. What I try to do is I solve their problems and I try and figure out what's the style that they like, what's the style that they're looking for. Because yes, I'm an editor, yes, I'm a videographer, but I'm the one who has to adjust my style for my clients, because I don't want all my client videos to look exactly the same. So find out the part that you're good at and then go from there.
True. But like, what would you suggest? Because like, for example, if there's like a young guy looking for work and he's like a super good editor, edits a lot of like NBA edits and stuff and makes like hype reel with those. And he would love to work for, or he or she would love to work for an NBA team and do just that. Basically would love to be an editor for an NBA team. Do you think that's enough, or would you suggest to that person that like you need to pick up a camera and try to, or like what's enough basically?
Well, I guess it's going to come down to what that team is looking for, right? Nowadays, most pro teams, you're doing everything. You're doing editing and you're doing shooting, right? If for some reason you are just an editor, then make sure that you check all the boxes. Make sure your After Effects is number one. Make sure, you could do 3D renders, you could do 3D stuff. Make it so that they only want you to edit because you're that good. If you're like a decent editor and a decent shooter, then you can offer that. But if you want to go in as just an editor, then you have to go in with the mindset that I'm the best editor. That's why they're just asking me to edit projects. Because when you do work for a pro sports team, there's times where you film a project and you hand it off and someone else edits it just because of time constraints or other projects are coming up or other shoots. So there isn't really, at least where I worked, there wasn't just a dedicated, all you're doing is editing. Even when I was with Venco doing TV spots, yes, I'd say 90% of my job was editing. But there was still that 10% where like, oh, we have to do an interview or we have a press conference or we have this and I'm still filming. And, oh, can you just maybe edit from the press conference a quick clip for the web? So you do need those extra skills. But if you're focusing just on editing as your question, then make sure that you check all the boxes to be that editor. If not, then I would suggest be good at both film and edit, because the other skills that you have will help out, especially sports. Like you want to be near the action. I remember we worked with one of our colleagues who didn't stay for the games. He was just a full-time editor. He didn't shoot. And he would go home for the games. Like he wouldn't be working when the games were on. And for me, I enjoyed the games. It was like the reward at the end of the day. Like, okay, yeah, we edited all these videos. I get to see them on the scoreboard. Now I get to see the game and film the game action. So for me, that was reward. Now, not everybody looks at it that way, but that's how I felt. Like the game itself was always the gravy. It was always the part of my day where I wasn't getting emails about it after. I was filming, I was enjoying myself, and I got the best seat in the house for free. So that's what I really, really enjoyed out of it.
No, so it's a good point. I'd say like, yeah, if you're like an editor and you've never filmed anything in your life and you want to work in sports, you better be the best video editor that team has ever seen. So like you have to be an amazing editor and you have to be like extremely good. Like you have to be like a After Effects sort of expert and probably be good at 3D as well, so that they'll see so much value in what you're bringing to post-production that they'll be willing to basically teach you how to use a camera. Because that's the thing, like that list that you mentioned at the start of this conversation, like it's true. Like they always put basically everything. Like you have to know Sony cameras, Canon cameras. You have to be able to edit with Premiere, Final Cut. You have to be able to use After Effects, do 3D, do a bit of social media, do this, do that. And it's ridiculous. No one does everything great. So really at the end of the day, what they'll pick is someone that is super good at least a couple of those things. And then if you at least have like a base on the other things, then you can learn on the job. So yeah, if you've never picked up a camera in your life, I suggest you start doing so. But you don't have to become the best cameraman before you start applying. But yeah, get hired based on your amazing editing skills, and then you'll learn everything else sort of on the job as you do it. And you, just like in my last YouTube video, you'll just fake it till you make it, but it will be out in the open. Everybody knows, like like you said, no one's great at everything. So as long as you're the top dog in one or two things, then the other ones you'll do fine, and you'll just get better with time.
And one of the things too is obviously if you get your foot in the door is when they see you work. When they see how you're organized, when they see your professionalism, when they see like how you are with equipment and your setups, and that all adds to your value. And it's hard to show people your value, because at the end of the day, the reason why they're going to hire you is because they see value in your services. Now, I'm going to ask you, E, what do teams actually need?
Well, I think they need someone that can, like, again, we're just going to name like a bunch of things. Doesn't mean you have to be the best at all those things, but they want someone that can pick up a camera and know, first of all, exactly what to do with it in terms of like exposure and all these things. They want someone that can also like sort of, what's the word? Like sort of, be able to take control and kind of direct the players, like let them know how to, just set
like
up the scene properly. Pardon?
Like assertive, someone who's a bit assertive, who can
and knows, like has a vision, like has a creative vision, and they won't be too shy. Like they'll be, in a nice way, they'll be able to sort of tell the players, like, what they're expecting and how to go about things so that it looks good on camera and things like that, and just guide them through the process, help them sort of get the best version possible. That's from a filming perspective. And yes, they, know a bit like the base of working with lights and microphones and things like that. And then in the edit, they want someone that can, first of all, work with the workflow that they have, which is most of the time sort of Adobe based. So being able to work with Premiere, with After Effects, things like that, and also work with others, because sometimes like projects are being shared, or someone starts it or completes it, but then there's an update that needs to be done and it's someone else because that person's not there anymore, or they're busy on other things. So being able to work as a team from a post-production perspective, and also being able to work like on the fly, like being able to quickly, if there's a goal, just go on the laptop super quick, put it together in a vertical way, a bit of speed ramping or something like that, push it out, and it's out on Instagram sort of 10 minutes after it actually happened. So sometimes that has someone that is capable of being creative and quick at the same time. That's highly valued, because you see that sometimes, like, especially if it's someone that's coming from TV, for example, like someone that's used to show up to work, sit down, make a coffee, go, well, all right, this is what I'm editing today. And, I'm taking my time, I'm setting up. Like if they go in an environment like sports and then where everything's like right now, they're like, whoa, that's not how I do things. And they're just not capable of doing that full. I think it's more common now, like definitely more than a few years back. But yeah, it's this, like, speed is definitely a big part of it, especially if you're working on game day, obviously.
Yeah, there's a pressure to it that used to not be there, because now we want everything right away. So to be, considered to be hired, you have to be good under pressure. Now, when I was asking the question, I was actually more asking about like what kind of content are these teams looking for?
Sorry,
but it's okay. I'll fill it in. So you got like services that you can offer, right? So you got social media clips. You can do long form storytelling for them. There's event coverages, because teams have all these events. Game highlights. That could be used for game presentation, for TV timeouts, stuff like that. There's internal content. Sometimes, we've been in the past where there's videos that are just edited for their players to get the players pumped up. Or I remember the video coach used to ask us, now it's a little different because they have so many more angles now. Remember, we used to get asked sometimes, oh, can you get me this clip? And we'd send it down. You have sponsorship videos. There's a lot that you can offer these teams. It's just to figure out what they're missing. So not everybody's going to put up a post and say, hey, we need a videographer. But if you approached your local college and you saw that they're having a big event, or they do events, say for like homecoming and stuff like that, and they don't do event recaps, that's a great way that you can say, hey, I do event recaps. You can always, if you have done them in the past, you can always show them an example, and you can always pitch that idea. So the thing is to kind of find that hole of what they're missing and how you can add value to them, because you want to create videos, but you also want to sell them your service too. So it's to find that fine line of what can I offer and what do they need.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that's one of the mistakes. The most common mistakes that people do is that they look at what their favorite team, their ideal job is doing at the moment, and they're like, "Hey, I can help you with this. I'm super good at all these things. I'd be perfect for your team." And they're looking at this thinking, yeah, so are we. Like, we're already doing these things. We're good at them. Things are good. That's why you want to work with us. But like, why do we need you? So like you said, it's like, if you come in more with, hey, I'm really impressed with what you're doing right now. This, and that. That's awesome. I love it. I watch it all the time. But have you ever thought of doing this other type of video that you haven't done, that I think like some of the teams are doing, but you guys are not doing it? And I think it would be awesome if you did. I actually happen to be really good at that. Here's 2 or 3 examples that I've done in the past. And that's how you get their attention. It's like, oh yeah, like this is actually cool. Or maybe it's not necessarily a type of video, but it's just a way of doing videos. Like, remember that effect where like there's an action probably in slow motion and there's like freeze frames in front, like let's say an MLB pitcher, and then you can see like as he's doing his pitching motion, there's like freeze frames in front of him that he just sort of gets into and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it goes from one to the next to the next. Well, like the first person that did that sold that concept to like all, like probably the next like 20 clients they had, because they're like, this is so amazing. Like, how do we do that? Oh yeah, I can do that. I can do that for you. You've never done it. You don't know how. I know how to do it. I'll do it for you guys. And then you get a job with this guy and that guy and this. So like that's, you can, if you can do something differently than most people, and people fall in love with that new style, that new thing that you do, then that's going to become sort of your business card a lot of the time.
Well, in that case, then what you're doing is you're selling what you want to create. It's not what they need. You're showing them something and you're like, hey, I got this. And I feel like we kind of saw it last year with the Boston Celtics, you know, where they had that above shot of the court and you saw the transitions of just their players and nobody else was there. Everything else was masked out. The second they dropped that video, everybody jumped on and did something similar to that. And it was like, no one needed that video, but the second you showed it to them, they wanted that video. And that's the same thing that your MLB thing is. Not everybody knows what they want right away. So you can take that creative leap and make something really cool and really unique and show it to them and say, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah. Well, it's like a recent example of that has nothing to do with sports videography per se, but at the All-Star game, during the All-Star weekend, they did this video series thing where a girlfriend of an NBA player would be on camera, like interviewed, and be like, oh, so how well do you know your NBA boyfriend? And say like, oh, who does he play for? Where did he play in college? And through her answers, we try to guess who the boyfriend is. And eventually at the end, the boyfriend gets, in the frame. You're like, oh, she's dating that guy. And now every team is doing it. Like they're all doing that video internally, like on their own sort of team channels and stuff. And it's become a thing. So yeah, if you come up with an idea, and well, obviously in that case, and everyone can do that, but if you come up with a creative idea, that's how you get teams' attention. Like if you're trying to just do what they're already doing better, they're not going to look at you thinking, oh, you're better than us. But if you come up with something they've never done and they don't know how to do, now you got their attention.
Exactly. Now, once you narrow down what you can offer and who you want to offer it to, you have to make those steps of getting in contact with them. So you're either going to send a DM, an email, call. You have to figure out a way of who can I contact and how do I get the steps moving or start moving in the right direction to kind of open the door for me to get in. So say you got a hold of the right person. Now it takes a little bit of work. You got to, hopefully you have a contact or somebody you know or someone you can email. But once you get that first contact, what are your steps to kind of get noticed?
Well, it depends like what we're talking about. Like if you're talking about an actual job, it's hard because, it needs to be
not a full-time job, maybe just a contract or to maybe get credentials or to get the access to maybe have the opportunity to work for them.
Well, I think in terms of like, first of all, getting in touch with the right person, which can be hard, like you said, I would just try to DM people who seem to be around enough to know who that person is. So whether it's, going to the videographer, anyone that seems to be working around social media, video, all that sort of stuff, you can try to DM them and say, look, I'd love to just know who I could potentially talk to and things like that. It can be difficult sometimes because there's a lot of gatekeeping involved. So if you reach out to someone who ultimately you're trying to do what they do, they're not going to be too excited about passing on their boss's information to you and risk that you're better than them. So it's always a bit tricky, but like the more people you talk to, the more eventually someone will be interesting. So will be interested. Sorry. So yeah, I would reach out to anyone that's more of a social media manager, media, PR, things like that, and communications. And at some points, one of those people will want to have, if they do look at your profile and you look like you really know what you're doing and stuff, and your pitch is good, then they might be interested of having someone like you on their team. And then I don't know where it's going to go, but they might just at least start a conversation. But it just means, but you're obviously going to get way more no's than yeses. So you just got to keep going and try and see what comes out of it. And if you're trying at the pro level and you're getting no after no, then maybe you should, take it down a notch and try to go for colleges or high school and sort of build your way up, because it's not that easy to just like work in the pros. Like what you and I described when we started the episode, like that's 20 years ago. Like the landscape has changed a lot since then. Like and even back then, like it was rare to get a job in that field, but now there's a few more jobs because there's more videographers per team, but there's way more people doing it than the extra jobs that have been created. So it's a lot more specialized. And because back then there was a lot of just learning on the job, where now there's still, like I said earlier, a little bit of that, but you need to be a specialist at something. So yeah, all that to say that you need to try to talk at a lot of people, and don't be afraid to work your way up. Start, like, just if someone does give you access or a job or just the opportunity to work for free, to build your portfolio, just take it, make the most of it, treat it as if it is your full-time job for an NHL, NFL, or NBA team. Just like go all into that one game, that one gig, whatever it is. Just blow their socks off so that they feel like they shouldn't let you like slip away. Like, did they feel like you're really something? And if it's not them, then at least you have something that you can show to other teams, and eventually it will snowball and you'll get opportunities.
You know what? Out of all our guests who've been on the show, all of them kind of have a similar path. Only you and I are the ones who started right away in pro sports, where everyone else starts. That's it. Because we're the oldest. We're older than all our guests that we have. We'll have to have Jean-Guy on the show. He's older than us. But they all started with amateur sports and worked their way up. Now, for me, I wrote this down. There's like 4 steps that I would do when reaching out to a team, either email or DM or, the social media manager. Is step 1 is do like a quick introduction. Who are you and what you do? Step 2, showcase specific work that aligns with their needs. So, if you're pitching to a basketball team, well, make sure that your demo or the stuff you're sending is basketball heavy. You can have other sports in it. You can have other cool shots you filmed, but make sure that there are some stuff that will align with their team. Now, step 3 is propose a clear way on how you can help them. Okay. Like, I want to do video for this. This is what I'm looking to do. This is where I can add some value. You don't do event coverage, or you don't do this because they have guys doing games, or maybe they're missing practice footage. There's stuff like that. And then step 4, I would try to end with a call to action. So I'm going to include a demo, but I'm really going to try to get a meeting or a call back. And that call to action is key, because you want to, if they're interested, you need to have that meeting. And I wouldn't give a price in an email. I would give it over a phone. If you are going to get hired, I would do it face to face if I had a face meeting or a Teams meeting. Because when you send someone an email and you're like, hey, I could do this gig, my half day rate is $600. They don't look at anything you wrote. They just look $600. Okay, next. They don't see the value in it. So make sure that's something you want to include in email. And you also don't want to start off these emails like, hey, I do video. Do you need anything? Or, hey, I love sports. Can I work for you? And don't overload your email or your first contact with a ton of links. Like 1 link, 2 is plenty. I know you did lots of work and you could easily send all these YouTube videos of everything you've done, but take the time and craft something for them, or pick your favorite 1 or 2 videos and just send those. Because if they get a list of 12 links, they ain't going to look at them. It's going to take way, way too long.
Yeah.
So
I always thought for me, like when I started my agency in Australia, it was like my marketing strategy was to let the videos speak for themselves. So when I was approaching teams at first, like when I didn't have any clients, I would just have one amazing show reel, and all I wanted them to do is just watch it. If they do watch it, they'll understand. I won't have to, like you said, like write like a letter and just ramble on and on like I do on this show. I won't have to put like.
Well, that's why we have this show, so we can ramble.
Yeah, exactly.
We live in the past. We talk about how good we used to be when we were young, when we started.
But yeah, no, like I wanted them to just watch the show reel and go, like, how can we work with this guy? Like this type of video would be so cool. Like with our players, with our team involved, like that would be amazing. So that's what I want them to think. So all I'm doing is one amazing show reel that goes for like a minute or two and a quick introduction, and let's meet up. That's it. Like just one call to action, like you said, like not like, oh, maybe we can do this or maybe we can do that and none of that. Like, oh, this is my favorite team. My dad used to follow this team forever and he got me into it. And you have no idea how much of like everybody says that. Even the guy who's got a job as an accountant for the team said the exact, like, you're not special. Just because you like that team doesn't make you special. It just makes you a fan. Doesn't make you good at what you do. So like just focus on what you can offer, show it in a quick show reel, and then, in a nice, polite way, just say like, if you like what you see, let's meet up.
So I'll ask you, okay? They saw your demo reel. They liked you. They're interested. How are you negotiating your price? Are you going hourly? Are you going per project? Are you going retainer? What do you feel is the most feasible to start with when you get that first gig with them?
I'm more like per project, but it depends on the type of client. Like it depends on, obviously if you work with them for a while, then things can change. But at first it would definitely be per project, and I would break down the cost of that project. And if it is like a new client that I'm trying to impress, maybe like, the price is much lower, especially if I'm just starting and I'm trying to make a name for myself. But like I wouldn't just say, oh, it's only going to cost you $50 or $200. I would say like, this is the breakdown of what it would normally cost, but I'm willing to put like a 50% discount just so that you take me in and give me the opportunity to show you how good this video can be. So just like, I want to work with you guys so much that I'm willing to take a hit and just do it just so that you can trust me and see. Cause it's like it's one thing if they can fall in love with your videos when they're not in the video at all, they're just gonna lose their shit if they can see the exact same quality, the same creativity, but with their logo and their players and their stars. Like that's when you get them for, I was going to say for life, for a season, let's say. Yeah. But, so if you can just get your foot in the door by producing that first video, you pretty much, your leverage and negotiation just went way up. So if you think that this is what you need to get the deal to go through, then I would offer them like a project-based sort of pricing, but then with like a discount that is whatever you feel is acceptable.
Now, there are some things, some factors that you have to put in when you're giving your price, like gear, travel, editing time, and revisions. Revisions are a killer. So you have to be clear and, like say you came up with a price for this project, say you did a project-based price. Well, you can include 2 revisions, because I will guarantee you the first time you work for somebody, you will put more hours in than you thought, because you want to impress them. You want it to go good. You want to retain them as a client. So project based for your first one, I think is the best way to go. Then I'm not stressed if I put in a little extra time. I'm not thinking, okay, I got to build them this hour and this extra stuff. And also include your revisions. And that way you know what you're getting into. And you tell them if there's going to be a third or fourth revision after that, then it's going to be an extra cost. But as long as you tell them that ahead of time, the client will be very understanding, because there are some common mistakes of like undervaluing your work, you know? So if you're not including those revisions, or if you're too rigid or too flexible, it will come back and bite you in the ass. So please talk about that stuff up front, because it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you too. When I was younger, like I had a client, by the time I was done revising the video, it was nothing like what I originally started. It was like a whole new video for no reason. It wasn't what we had talked about at all. It wasn't what we had decided we were going to do. It was completely different. So make sure that you put your foot down, and they will be happier too when they don't have to go back and forth time and time again. You know, they know that they have two chances. They'll talk to their team. They'll make sure they get everything ironed out. Yes, if there's something silly like they gave you text or a lower third and there's a spelling mistake or whatever, that doesn't count as a revision. I'm talking about editing revisions or stuff that they want added in. I have no problem of giving extra things if it's something small, no problem. So please communicate, because that is a killer.
So let's say you go from there, you got your foot in the door, things look like they're going well. So how do you build a long-term relationship? Like, how do you make sure that you have the type of relationship that's going to get you like recurring work with that team? Well, so is there anything you can do basically to make it happen?
Yeah. You know what? On every beginning of when I start projects with them, I'm always going to give them a little bit extra, something that maybe they didn't ask for, just as like a little bonus thing. It probably didn't take me much time. Say if I'm editing a game recap and there's a great play in that, I'll give them a full play extra that they could share on their Instagram and that, even though maybe they didn't hire me for that. So find that little thing that you can always give them. I always try and do something a little bit extra, just to show them like, hey, I'm invested too. It's my name on the work. I want you to be happy, but I want to be happy also. So here you go. Here's a little something from me to you. And then if I'm going to work with them longer, I'm going to try and change my pricing. Cause I want this to last. And that's where I would do a retainer deal. I would see if like, hey, you want to hire me for the rest of the homestand, or would you like to hire me for the next month where I saw you have 5 games? Well, if I'm charging you a half a day rate for 5 games, well, maybe we could just do a month retainer or 2-month retainer to cover the rest of the season. Because first of all, I'm not chasing for money. It's an agreed amount. I'm not stressed about extra time I do or revisions. It kind of frees you up a bit. You look at it as more like you're a full-time employee at the time. So if I'm a full-time employee, I don't know, say my salary is, I'll just throw it out there, say $4,000 a month. Okay. I'll just take that and I say, okay, that's what I would charge them for the month for the retainer deal, instead of say $650 to $950 a game. I'm probably losing a bit of money on it, but now I'm there for the rest of the season. So I'm doing more creative stuff. I'm adding more to my demo reel. I'm getting value out of it, because now I'm learning every game. You know how it is. Even us at our age, every game there's stuff, something that you learn, or something you learn off everyone, or you network, or you run into the right person. So you being there is more valuable than you think. So lowering your price and having that longer term deal is really, really worth it. And the number I threw out, you could do pretty good off that for a month. No, I feel
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with everything you said. And the only other thing I would add is just like, don't be an asshole, basically. Like, people love to work with people they enjoy being around. So if you get along with people, if it's a great sort of rapport and you're having fun while you're together, and you're someone that they don't feel like it's going to be a thing if they call you with a last minute edit, or it's not going to be a thing if they try to change something on you, or at least have a conversation about it, then then they're just going to appreciate your flexibility. They're going to appreciate the fact that you always come with the right attitude, that you care, that you basically you act the same way a full-time employee would. Like you feel like when you're there, you're working the hat of that team. You represent that team, and you're working for the best interest of that team. And if they see that in you, and they get along with you, and they feel like you're a good person, that those things make a huge difference. Because at the end of the day, like, you get more clients because of your personality and how you interact with people than because of your actual skills.
No one got mad at you for going there and doing your work, you know? And sometimes take that moment, that step back, because we're working in sports. Enjoy it. Enjoy the moment. Yes, there are days where it feels like work because you got other stuff going on in your life, or you got to miss your friend's birthday party because you're filming an event and that. But while you're there, smile, enjoy the moment, and have fun, because it is sports. And the second you start doing that, you will, you'll talk to more people, you'll network a little bit better, and it'll be more and more enjoyable for sure. Like I mentioned before on the show, I didn't use the always network. Now, you know what? I go to these games, I have a good time, I talk to everybody, because I know one day I'm not going to be doing this anymore. So let's enjoy it while I can. And it does open up a lot of doors, because, random people you meet, they're like, oh, I saw E filming the other day. Oh, he did good work. He's a nice guy. Yeah, I'll ask him about this job. And you do get a lot of people who contact you that way because they've seen your attitude, they've seen your work, they've seen you set up. There's nothing worse than working with someone who's miserable. So don't be that guy. And it is very easy in sports because it's stressful. Like yesterday, I had to drive 5 hours to a shoot. I got there, I had to fly my drone real fast, and then the person was supposed to show up at 1:30. Now I'm there at 12:30, so I have an hour. No, they were already there. So then I had to rush and set up lights, and it was hectic. But I did it with a smile on my face. I chit-chatted while I did my lights, found a good backdrop, and I faked it. I didn't want to tell them I was mad. Like, hey, you just screwed up. You told me 1:30. I got here early to do all my stuff, and now you're rushing me. But I didn't tell them that. I just powered through it. I'm like, I apologized. I'm like, oh, sorry. Just give me 5 minutes to set up my lights. And then, of course, while I'm filming, I'm panicking. I'm like, oh my God, is my white balance okay? Are both light temperatures the same? I forgot to check this. That's going to happen. Just learn from it, grow with it, and do it with a smile, and it will open up more doors for sure.
One last question before we wrap things up, because one of us has something to do, and the other one has to take a nap.
My son has a playoff game,
guys. But yeah, no, one last question.
Yeah.
Can you recover from a bad pitch or a bad sort of first introduction, do you think?
I think you can. I definitely think you can. It's not easy to overcome. But what I would do if I really screwed it up the first time is that's when I would go into my little bag of tricks and I would offer them a free trial. Like, hey, I'll come to this event. I'll film it for free. I just want to show you my value, and I want to gain the experience. So that's where I'd really go with the free pitch if I feel like I really, really blew it. Now, I've blown it with plenty of clients. And it's usually the same way that I blow it all the time. Okay. And it's not everybody sees the same value in video as you do. So I know they need the video. They know they need the video. But when I show them the price that I'm charging, it doesn't always translate, because they look at it as if I'm going to pay you $3,000. You're going to give me these videos. What do I really get back from that? Am I going to get $3,000 worth of merch or $3,000 worth of ticket sales? That's the hardest part about video. Yes, everybody needs video. They do. Nowadays, if you go on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, if you want to you get your team seen, your players seen, even for us, our edits and all that, you need to show it. The trickiest thing is to show them the value. So, and the only way as a video editor, and no one teaches you is how, we all know how to edit videos. We all know how to shoot videos. No one teaches us how to sell ourselves. And that's something that you're going to learn time and time again. And I try not to take it personal when clients say no, because they're not really saying no to me. They're not saying no, they don't want to work with me. They're not closing that door. They're saying, no, I don't need video right now, or no, I don't see the value in video right now.
Yeah.
And that's what's tricky. I can't afford it right now. Yeah. So if there's a project you really want to work on, you have to decide what you want, what you'll do to get that project, whether it's lower your price, whether it's offer a free trial, whether it's offer extra edits on it if they're a difficult client, but you really enjoy the sport. You'll have to figure out what you have. And I realize with all my clients is not, I have packages, and I try to sell those packages because they're systems. It's me telling them, it's not me telling them what they need. It's me just saying, I have this for this price. I have this for this. I have this for that. Well, what you realize is everybody is different. Everybody has different needs. And that's a skill that you'll acquire the more and more you do this, is not everybody needs the same thing.
And I'd say also like, that doesn't really apply to like the pro level, but like if you're trying to just get to work with a high school or things like that, like if you're trying to email them and DM them and no one's getting back to you, just show up. Like just go to a game, go there early, because obviously you don't want to try to talk to a coach or someone like that like 5 minutes before the game, but like show up early and just try to have a conversation with an AD or with someone that's involved and explain what you're trying to do. And yeah, being there in person, they'll kind of have to have at least a polite conversation with you, and at least you'll know where you stand. You know what I mean? Yeah. Instead of just waiting for an email.
Actually, it's funny you say that. I go to this shoot yesterday, and it's actually during a hockey tournament. And there's this young photographer there. So he sees me setting up my lights and all my stuff, panicking. And after my interview, he comes up to me and asks me what I was doing. So I tell him who I was working for and what I was doing there. And I said, oh, you're taking photos for the event? And he said, no, he paid for his own admission and he likes taking photos. So he went to the tournament to take his own photos. Now, so he spent $10, but he's doing something he loves. And who knows, he might be able to sell those photos later on or get a contract for next year's hockey season with those photos. So it's a good investment. And sometimes you need to invest in yourself. So all he's doing, he's paying $10 to get in the tournament, and he's giving up his time watching a game, taking pictures of these kids playing. It's a good trade-off.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And I know a lot of people in our Supposed Videography Facebook group or just people who DM me that started just like that, either what you just described or just filming their own kids. And next thing you know, all the other kids, because they're seeing the videos and stuff, they're like, oh, can you do one for me? Or how much would it be for you to do a small edit? And then they do that once in a while, and the next thing you know, they're doing a bunch more, and they're doing videos for the actual team and then the league, and now they're doing this almost full time. So, and I've heard several stories like that one. So yeah, there's always a way.
And my number one advice that I give people now whenever I meet them is listen to Game Day Glare and you'll be fine.
Exactly. When you know.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode of Game Day Glare. I hope we can get you guys some gigs. I hope this kind of, helps open up your horizons and see how you can get into these venues, into these jobs, and in contact with these teams. All right. Take care.